Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to hopefully change our lives. Kuntres Mayin, Chalek, Maamar, Tess, Perik base. Before we start, we'll give some tzedakah because it's the tzedakah. Give some coins of tzedakah, and we're gonna end this whole series of learning is in honor of the Yidden Eretz Yisrael, the Yidden everywhere really, but specifically the Yidden Eretz Yisrael, and specifically the hostages that amidst Hashem. All the hostages should come back safely and healthy and sound. Roni, and specifically we're gonna daven. We're gonna learn for Roni bat Liach Sandra. That in the course of our learning, they should be healthy and safe. Okay, basically, yesterday we talked about how there's a makif and a pnimi. And within ourselves, you have a ratzon, our will, a desire, and this is something that we have, like within us. We have this will, and our will is not specific to doesn't have like a certain space, a certain place. Intellect, which is the highest, the beginning of everything, intellect is found in the brain. That's its seat. Whereas emotions, its seat is in the heart, which means, in practical terms, that when you learn something, it takes time to go from the brain to wherever it is. The example we use, let's say, is dancing. You're learning a specific dance move for a chasna. You have a chasna coming up, and you're learning to do a special dance. So that learning takes seichel. So which means it takes time to go from your brain, because that's where the intellect is seated, to the foot, and to teach it and to transfer that information. Whereas the ratzon, in contrast, ratzon is everywhere. Therefore, when you have the will to move, the example, your feet, which is the lowest, the most distance from your head, it goes instantaneous. You don't have to think about it. When you think about the idea, you don't think to move. Every time you take a step, you don't say, I need to take a step now, and then and then you take a step. It's automatic. Because the ratzon is a makif, and so too. So now we're going to explain today what does it mean in terms of Hashem. How does it all work with Hashem? So let's see. Perik base. So now we can understand, based on what we just said, above, how it works by Hashem. Above, it's important to remind ourselves that above doesn't mean above us in the sky. It means spiritually. The S is spheres, the Atzilus, the 10 spheres, 10 attributes in Atzilus. Hey, in Bechinas is Labshus Eretz Bekelim. They are set up in a way, and Atzilus, you have to understand, Atzilus comes from the word Eitzel. It's next to, it's by Hashem. It's a world, but the only difference between that and Hashem is that it's a world. It's a world full of Hashem. Whereas in our world, which is very distant from Hashem, the difference between us and Hashem is totally, it's one extreme to the other. Our world doesn't sense anything godly. The only thing we sense is world. And Atzilus, the only thing it senses is God. But in Atzilus, you have the essence spheres, you have 10 attributes, and each one has the light and a vessel. So it's very tailored. It's like, in the simple sense, a teacher teaches, that a teacher is teaching to the potential of each kid. Each child has a specific potential, can reach, and the teacher tailors his class for that student. And then the top, the highest, the first one is Chachma, just like within our body, Chachma is in our head. The first is Chachma. Is Rashis, and it's called the first. Why is it called first? Because it's the first, the beginning of the Hishtashlos, the beginning of the descent, the process of things. And the simple process in life of how we do things is we think about something, then we understand it, then we produce an emotion, and then we do an action based off it. And that's how the process works. And it goes from chachma, from intellect, from an idea that you think about, to bina, understanding the idea very well. And this is like a Chabad, chachma, bina, and das. The chachma is the idea, that there's an idea that I'm learning. The bina is I'm understanding the idea to the extent Like it says, is bina is lahavin davim tech davar, to be able to extrapolate from it. So I understand it so well that I can apply it in different scenarios. Like the simple example, like it brings down in Sparks of Tanya, is back in the day when people didn't know smoking was bad for them. A doctor, he used to get people with a cough, and he noticed that people with a cough also smoke. That's called chachma. That's this flash of an idea. You recognize something. There's something going here. It's called people cough, and it's correlated with smoking. So then he does bina, which is there's a study on it. And let me understand this. And he does a whole study, and he does the whole thing, and he realizes that there's a correlation between smoking and coughing. That's bina. And these are the first ones. Das is the last one. It's very important to understand in general is what does the person actually do about it? Because the doctor could learn all this thing, but it could still continue smoking. Das is the ability to take it from an idea to implementing it, to feeling it. Das is the connection between intellect and emotion. But anyway, that's Chachma and Bina, and that's the beginning. The Kashem Shehu B'Koiches HaNefesh. Asher Nekudas HaChachma Me'ira B'Hasaga. The Bina, that just like within us, you have this idea of Chachma, and then it goes down into Bina, like we said, the example of the doctor, that he realizes, he sees that something's going on between people that cough and smoke, and then he brings that down into doing a study on it, which is Bina. And Bina is the mother that gives birth to the emotions. The more you know, the more you connect emotionally to her. And this is something that that Chassidus talks about a lot. The more, and this is why we learn about, this is one of the main points of Chassidus. Through Chassidus, you learn about Hashem, and the more you know about Hashem, the more you can relate to him, the more you can connect to him, the more you can have an emotional relationship with Hashem. And this is with not just Hashem, with everything in life. The more the better, the more the emotion is dependent on the intellect. The more you understand about it. Yeah, the more you understand, the more you can have an emotional relationship with it. So hine kein hu b'sfiras ha'elyon is so too. That's within us. So too above by Hashem. Shachachma mishtashel el habina. That the chachma goes from bina in atzilus, umin hamoichin el midas, and from the intellect to the emotions in atzilus. V'akol bislabshus eretz b'kelim. But what we're showing here is that everything is organized in clothing from one light into one vessel, going down to the next light and vessel, and it has this whole descent. It doesn't go from Chachma all the way to Malchus. It has to go through this process. So to with us, and so to up even in Atzilus, which is all connected to Hashem, being that it's coming from Hishtalshlus, it's organized descent. So therefore, it starts off with the intellect or the Chachma of Atzilus, and then it comes to the midas of Atzilus, the emotions of Atzilus, and that's how the process goes. Aval, but in contrast to what about a Bavid? What about the surrounding Makif? Aval or Ein Sof, Hashem's infinite lights, Shalmayel Mishtalshus, which is way above this Seder Ishtalshus, this organized descent. Hu Bechinas Ur Makif. This is a surrounding light, a light that doesn't encompass, doesn't go in, and doesn't need to go through this order. Doesn't get included in vessels. For example, the teacher, the means when the teacher, like we said before, tailors the class for the student. Let's say he's teaching a student, and he looks at the student and he sees what the student can understand and where the student is holding, and it teaches based off this. That's Eretz B'Kelim. That's Seder Shtashlos. Makiv is the teacher takes an idea that the teacher knows, the teacher learns and has a geshmakin, and it teaches it. Doesn't tailor it to the students, and each version has its advantage. When the teacher teaches the way it knows, the advantage is the student gets to hear the deepest levels of ideas. The disadvantage is that the student can't really grasp it. On the other hand, when the teacher teaches towards the capabilities of the child, so therefore the child can really get something. But the problem with that, Well, yeah, the issue with it is that the child doesn't get anything deeper. But this is what we're saying. This is makif, the ain't safe. That's not included in the kelim. And ultimately, we're going to discuss that this makif is sort of where Rishaim can receive from. As we explained before in Perik Aleph, like we explained in the beginning, in the first chapter, that the Ratzain doesn't have a specific seat. And this is like our Ein Sof. And being that doesn't have a specific place, so it's not internalized within the kelim, within the vessels, within the mind, the emotions, and things like this. Just makif surrounds. So too, we'll understand how it is above. In Hashem's infinite light, it's above this descent, this ishtalshalos. It's not included within the vessels, but it's makif, it surrounds. So therefore, according to this, move on, it's understood. This, that in this descent, this chain-like descent, this organized descent, and therefore, there's a judgment on how do we give. The process, like we said before, within us, the more you understand, the more you will feel. So too, in above, when Hashem's light is coming through this organized way, so therefore it's very much tailored towards the person, and therefore it's very judgmental. How much can I give you? How much can you understand? How much can you get? And so to Torah mitzvahs, when we're talking about Pnimi, did you do the mitzvah properly or not? And based on what you did is what you get. Whereas when it comes on this makif level, like we said, it doesn't go into the keli. So therefore, it doesn't make this calculation. It doesn't check how good you're doing, how many mitzvahs did you do. In Seder Ishtalshalos, it's like the teacher, like the example of the teacher. When the teacher is teaching according to the student's levels, the teacher has to see how much the student can handle. And it's very much important the student. Whereas the teacher just teaching, so it's irrelevant so much to the student and just gives. So to above. When it's coming through Seder Ishtalshalos, Hashem's giving is very much specific to what you've done. And if you did good, so you'll get. And if you did not good, so you don't get. But when you tap into the level of makif, therefore, it's irrelevant what you did. You'll get. Because B'Seder Ishtalshalos, when it comes in this organized fashion, Pnimi, being that's an internalized light, his labshus eirish bekelim, the enclosement of light into the vessels, the teacher being able to tailor his class for this student. So therefore, the student, the vessel has to be a fitting vessel to receive this light. The student has to be the proper student to receive this. And if it's not fitting, it's not going to receive it. If you don't understand the subject, you're not going to understand. If you don't have the information you need to have, you're not going to understand. And therefore, the teacher can't give. And in general terms, what's this vessel? What do we need? This is bittul. The ma'ashabatal, what does bittul mean? Something that is nullified to Hashem. This is the vessel that's fitting to receive the light. Meaning there's Hashem and there's me. If I look at myself as a total separate entity from Hashem, there's me, my life, my things, and then there's this thing called Hashem somewhere. So then I'm not giving him space. But if I bring Hashem in and I say, who am I? I am part of Hashem. I have an nefesh kiss. I'm just an extension of Hashem to the best of my ability. So then you make Hashem, let Hashem in. Like it's known, the ain't safe. Shiur b'makom habittul dafka. There is Hashem's infinite light, this way above and beyond. Kalim being clothed in the Seder Ishtalshalos, it only can sit in a place with this bittul. Meaning a place that we feel that we're connected to Hashem. And also there's many levels of this, but that's the main idea of bittul. That's why the main seat of the Ein Sof, the main place where the Ein Sof gets into is in Chachma. Why in Chachma? The fish in Chachma, he koyach mashu bechinas bittul. Chachma is the power of bittul. As explained in Tanya, because Chachma is the ability, you have to mevatel yourself to get an idea. If you're not open to receiving, then you can't get the ideas. But you're sitting there and you just always, it's like when you talk to someone and they try to like rebuttal you. That's not Chachma. That's just arguing. Whereas Chachma is, let me take in what you've said. We have to finish off the parak, but we'll finish it off tomorrow. So basically what we're saying is, like we explained before, there's the lights and vessels, the ishtashlus, and when it comes to say to ishtashlus, so then it's like, it's like the donor. A donor goes to give. There's one donor that gives irrelevant to who you are. They just give. You come in, they write checks. They don't ask you questions, nothing, just send you off checks. Then there's the donor that asks you a lot of million questions. What are you using it for? Let me see your budget. How much did you raise so far? How much you need to raise? How much does this cost? How much does that cost? And then these are these two levels. And these two levels are ways that Hashem interacts with us. There's one level that Hashem interacts with, gives, and the other level that he doesn't just give so easily, but it's Sedish Tashlis, and it's seeing how what you're fitting and stuff. The question I leave off is we want to know which one do we get from generally, and which one is the right one to get from. Seemingly, the right one would be to get from Makif. You get so much, you don't have to do anything. But is that the case? And if you think about it in your lives, how would you want it to be? To be continued tomorrow.